What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the TOJ pod. I'm your host, Will Parkinson, at WillPod11 on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Will Parkinson NFL on YouTube, host of TOJ Talks, joined by host of the other guys in the Badlands Podcast Network, Paul Kilgallen. We are talking a little Haason Reddick, and we are talking Aaron Rodgers missing one day of practice in June. That was quote-unquote unexcused, but then also people have known about for weeks. Paul, how we doing? Reaction to Doomsday in Jetsland that caused a massive roar that was the leading topic on every sports show that I saw today, and I'm actually can't believe this is what we're doing. But here we are on June 11th talking Aaron Rodgers missing a day of minicamp.
Yeah, dude, it's overreaction season. Beast has to eat, right? There has to be something to pump the media around the clock, and it's June. None of this matters. Everybody knows none of this matters. The talking heads on TV know this doesn't matter. But we got to talk about something, right? So, of course, it's a story. It gets bigger than it is. I think, again, kind of like what I always fall back to is like in 2 months, we're going to look at this and laugh. We're potentially not even going to remember it. Whatever. It's interesting fodder, I guess, for a couple days and keeps everybody hopping and angry and, up. But this doesn't matter.
No, I want to finish with mostly Rodgers here and get a little bit more in depth and kind of just like what occurred today and everything like that. Probably the more important story, although I also think it does not matter, and I will say it doesn't fucking matter about 6 times throughout this podcast minimum. Haason Reddick, who the Jets traded for, as obviously we know the timeline, he wanted a new deal from the Eagles. The Eagles did not give him a new deal. They allowed him to find a trade partner essentially, or said, hey, we're probably going to trade you or cut you. They did that. They signed Bryce Huff. The Jets trade a 2026 conditional third-round pick for Haason Reddick. Newsflash, he didn't all of a sudden wake up and not want a new deal. He saw a bunch of guys, including Danielle Hunter, who I've referenced multiple times here. Same age, similar production, same position, going to a new team. 2 for 49 is what Hunter got. I think Reddick's a guy who's probably wants 2 for 60. Realistically, he's going to get 2 for 50, somewhere in that range. I guess, according to the Connor Hughes report, the Jets were under the impression he was okay with playing on a 1-year deal and kind of getting a new deal after the year. Reddick's held out before. A lot of this is kind of a non thing. What do you make of all this? And what do you make of a lot of Salah's comments, almost kind of airing a couple of guys out the last couple of days and last week or so, which has probably made some of these stories a little bit bigger than they maybe had to be, I guess.
Yeah, he's not helping. He's definitely not helping. And it's funny, for a guy as like personable and affable as he is, he says stuff in press conferences sometimes that you're just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, even a lot of the stuff with Zach last year, like you could just see right through it. He was kind of saying correct words, but like you could see body language and eyes and all that. You could see right through it all. So yeah, I mean, the Salah stuff is troubling, not necessarily new for him. I think he has generally struggled in press conferences, which again is weird because he seems like a good dude and a cool dude. As far as Reddick goes, I was laughing to myself earlier thinking that if McCagnon was still the GM, like 6-year deal would have already been done, probably would have been done before the trade, like the $150 million, like whatever the guy wants, right? Just do whatever we got to do. But Joe Douglas isn't that guy. And that I'm not saying that as a positive or a negative thing. It just is fact. That's who he is. It's, the old joke, Joe Douglas has his price. Like, if they were looking for like a patsy to give him a long-term deal, like Joe D just is not that guy. And I would imagine that conversations were had pretty deeply. I can't, like, almost the way some of the tweets were worded were almost like they like talked about it a little bit and were just like, we'll figure it out. Like, I'm sure it got a lot deeper than that. And everybody is posturing for what it's eventually going to land at, right? One side is going to say, I want a very long-term deal for a lot of money. The other side is going to say, we're giving you nothing. And then they're going to meet in the middle at some point. And when practices start to matter and any of this really has impact on getting ready for the season or being ready for preseason, it'll get done, right? And so, like, that's what negotiation is. You can't just start and say, I want a 2-year Band-Aid deal, right? You have to start on the polls and then you'll come to the middle and you'll meet at the right place. And so again, like it almost feels silly to even talk about it because this is just how contract negotiations work. And if there's one thing Douglas is good at, it's sticking to what he feels is his value for the player. And that's what's going to happen here. And it might be a painful process and we might be uncomfortable along the way, but we're going to get there at the end of the day.
Yeah, I just think it's funny how we've done this thing where it's like, wow, we got Jets fans and I mentioned, love all of you guys, but it's, when they let Bryce Huff walk and I posted the contract, oh, fuck Bryce Huff, he wanted to get paid. This guy sucks. He wasn't as good. He's a part-time player. Haason Reddick, it's only $14 million, and look at that. Guess what? Now that Haason Reddick wants to get paid, oh, this guy's selfish. What a bad guy. He's washed up. We need to just play Will McDonald. It's like, dude, no offense, it's not your money. Like, it's not, and it doesn't matter. So he's going to get paid one way or another, whether you complain about these guys or not. The Jets need Haason Reddick. Yep. Haason Reddick does not need the Jets to pay him because he could literally just say, I'm going to end up playing on this, and he can hold out all the way through camp and kind of show up, and someone will pay him next offseason because guess what? Getting paid the rush to passer. This is not like a Jets versus Reddick thing. As you mentioned, I fully expect, and as I've said for almost 2 weeks straight now, and I feel like I'm just talking to myself at this point, it's going to end up being a 2-year deal for between $50 and $55 million because that's what the market are. The parameters are already set. There's nothing to negotiate here in a sense. Like, sure, Reddick might want 3 years and the Jets might want to just leave it as a 1-year deal with more guaranteed money. And then they end up at 2 years because that's what's going to happen. And he can be a free agent again when he's 31. And the Jets window will be that 2-year window. They'll have Rodgers and some of these other contracts move off, and they'll pay Jermaine at that point to replace him. And that's just the way these things go. So I'm not worried about Reddick. Was it concerning that Saleh had to say we hadn't spoken yet thing? Yeah, that was a little weird. And you can tell he qualified it again today when he was like, oh, yeah, we did speak. He's in a great spot. He's mentally prepared, all that stuff. It's almost like he says stuff sometimes and then realizes, oh, shit, probably shouldn't have said it that way. And then goes back and says it a different way. So
it's almost as if he doesn't understand the impact of what he's saying, or he doesn't understand how the fans are going to react to what he's saying. Like, to him, yeah, we haven't spoken in the last week. Like, probably not a big deal. Like, he doesn't, it wasn't meant as a dig. It was just a statement of fact, and he just didn't really think it through, right? But then, he gets behind the podium after, and everybody's like, dude, what did you just say? Like, are you serious? Now you have to go read this hostage statement tomorrow to make up for what you just said. And so I think it almost strikes me as more just absent-mindedness than anything else. And to your point, the contract is what it is. It's kind of like Quinnen Williams was. The market is already set. It's already developed.
Quinnen was always going to be between 4 and 196 to 105. There was it was just whoever got paid first got 23, then the next guy got 23 and a half, the next guy got 24, the next guy gets 24 and a half. So the quarterback market works. That's why the Lions were smart to get Jared Goff done when they did, because Tua's going to go get more money than him, and Herbert got done when he did. That's the way these things work. I want to touch a little bit more on Rodgers. A couple other notes today from OTAs. Mike Williams, as said by yours truly and some of the guys on Badlands 3.5 months ago, Mike Williams is going to be on the Breece Hall plan. It's going to be the first, by the first joint practices, he will likely start to do team drills in some aspect, and he will ramp up to be as close to 100% as he can be by week 1. Do not expect him to be practicing the first week of camp, let alone the first day, in any capacity in which it's relevant. Elijah Vera-Tucker will practice to start camp. He will be ready to roll. Breece Hall will be ready to roll. I'm missing somebody here. Tyron Smith. Who else am I missing? There's somebody else that I'm missing here. Doesn't matter. Pretty much everybody else that was out last year in any former capacity outside of Mike Williams will be ready to go there.
Chuck Clark.
Yep. That was the other one. So there's again, these things are not. Oh, Morgan Moses is the last one.
No,
I apologize. So all these guys will be ready to roll. No surprises there. We're going to take the last 5 minutes. I want to touch a little bit more on this Rodgers conversation. Here's kind of where I land on it. Is it annoying? Sure, it's annoying. You'd like to see your quarterback there. I think that's absolutely fair. And in a vacuum, it's a 2-day mini camp. Hey, you were here yesterday. You've been here all off season. Can't you make these 2 days work? It's a distraction, whether you mean to be or not, 100%, and that's all great. I'm not If you want to criticize that, hey, like, come on, man, like, it's not a holdout, it's not these different things. I feel like you should be there. That's a fair gripe. And again, I'm not going to tell people that they shouldn't be there. You have to set a standard as an organization. That the rest of the team's there. Obviously, outside of Reddick, they have the other 88 guys that'll be on the training camp roster. All that's fair. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and argue with people from their couch. Oh, it's a mandatory practice. I get it. Like, I'm on the same page, buddy. I get it. At the same time, I could not give less of a flying fuck that Aaron Rodgers was not at Jets minicamp today and tomorrow when he's been there every single day for every one of the other 9 OTA practices. He's been in the building. He's been working out. His teammates don't give a shit. In reality, I guarantee the coaches don't give a shit. The Jets don't give a shit because they let him do it, and they told him it was okay to do it. And the only reason I feel like deep down they phrased it as an unexcused absence is because it was going to come out Rodgers wasn't there. They were going to have to say something and likely guard against the fact of if it is an RFK thing, if it is a birthday party, I don't know what it is. In reality, who cares? But I'm just saying if it's not something that's a death in the family, a wedding, a family event, all these different things that would be, excused absence, people are going to flip out if they found out afterwards. So the Jets he has an event. It's an unexcused absence, but we've known about it for weeks. The only thing that's annoying from the Jets' perspective is when you say it's an unexcused absence, but you're okay with it, and then you knew about this the whole time, couldn't this have gotten more press a month and a half ago? He's going to miss 2 days of minicamp, and this didn't have to be a story. Get ahead of it. The Jets are very conscious of what goes on and what's said by fans, by podcasts, by the media, very aware. I feel like you could have gotten ahead of this one, especially if you did know. And if you didn't know and you're saying you knew, it almost just like, again, you're just like kind of solid. He struggled today with that. I think you're trying to set a standard again because he is a star guy and he is going to get to do what he wants. This is the way he does. He gave back money. He is the most important person in your organization. This is the way these things work, whether you like it or not. But I will reiterate again, I do not care. This is not a big story. If Rodgers had missed all of the offseason, sure, bigger story. If Rodgers was injured, sure, bigger story. If there's a million things, him missing for an event and the thing that the team was fully aware of, and him being present for every other single possible thing. And by all accounts of everyone that's seen him, he's looked fantastic. The arms looked awesome. He's had great chemistry with receivers. His teammates are all into it. They all know he's all in. All that stuff. I just can't get worked up about a practice on June 11th and June 12th before the team goes on a 6-week vacation that he had something. And again, we don't know what it is. And maybe I'll eat my words and it'll be some crazy ayahuasca trip for 2 days. And everyone's like, dude, really? Like, that's what you missed for? And I still really won't care. Paul, how do you feel? That was a 3-minute rant. I feel like Joe Beningo right now. And this is very unnatural for me, but I've had enough, man. I can't do this anymore. It's not doomsday. Like, stop.
No, I have so many thoughts. I'm trying to organize them in my head before I talk here. I mean, obviously Allen Iverson comes to mind. We're talking about practice right now? It's insane. The other thought I had was that what the event is really none of my business or anybody else's business at the end of the day. It's this dude's life.
You get to pay his fine. If you're not, don't care.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, a lot of times we forget, these are just dudes who got stuff going on in their lives, right? And if it were a pregnant wife, or it's not, right? If it were a pregnant wife or a death in the family or something like that, nobody would say anything, right? So why are we going to start evaluating?
No, someone would say something. Rodgers is a bad teammate. He's having
something
kids
would say
with an
something.
Idiot. Yeah, of course.
But the point is, for people here to sit and try to subjectively evaluate what reason is going to be good enough to miss this practice and what reason isn't good enough, I think is crazy. I think that the Jets tend to overthink themselves into silly situations all the time. And there's a long history of this. This isn't anything new. This isn't anything recent. Probably they did know. And they were it's almost funny, the balls on the Jets to just be yeah, we'll just wait till day of, and we'll see if we can just slide it underneath and see if nobody notices, right? It's just insane to think that conversation probably happened because they would have had to know, right? He wouldn't have sprung this on them on the last minute, probably. And so, the Jets have never been very good at PR, and they muffed another one here. So we'll just add it to the list there. As far as like the national reaction, it is what it is, right? Like, you knew that this is what we were getting when we did this, right? Like, this was a check we all wrote when we all signed on to this and decided that this is what we wanted as the path going forward. Was like, there was going to be a lot of tax to pay when it came to having Rodgers around your team, on your team, as your star player, in terms of just noise and nonsense that's going to constantly surround everything he says, everything he does. He has put himself in the bullseye of a lot of people who, don't agree with what he is and what he's about and what he does and what he says. And so that's always going to happen. And so the national people, the Chris Broussards and the Jay Wrights and all them, like, I almost like that doesn't even matter to me. The inside the Jets world reaction a little bit, I think, bothers me more than that, because again, this is what we bargained for, right? Like, do you guys want to go back to Zach Wilson? Is that better for you if we have a quarterback who's here for this but is not good? Or would you rather take the guy who is probably a top 5, probably higher than that, but I just want to be careful what I say, most talented quarterback to ever play the game, who legitimately does not need to be there, who is not in a new system, who is not with a new team? Everything is familiar at this point. This isn't last year. This isn't the first organized team activity. He has taken a part in everything that's been voluntary and then some so far. He left rehab multiple times to come back and join the team, whether it be on the road or at home. Like, the guy has done pretty much everything right team-wise since he got here. And so, like, to jump all over this is like the first opportunity to get some blood, and to just jump all over it and tear the guy apart, I think, is insane. And at the end of the day, I'll kind of just go back to what I said at the beginning. Like, it's really none of our business. If the dude makes a decision as a 40-year-old man that he needs to be somewhere else for these 2 days, like, it is what it is, right? It's fucking June. Everything's going to be okay. Like, he's going to play week 1 barring an injury. So, like, again, national media don't care. Inside Jets world, that bothers me a little bit. And the PR thing is just hysterical. Like, they can't do anything right.
It's funny, Lamar Jackson, coming off an MVP season, choked in a playoff game not too long ago, missed all of OTAs and got fined quite a bit of money. Didn't hear a goddamn word about it. Joe Burrow, at points, missed stuff. We've seen a lot of guys that hold out. It's obviously money related, so no one really, balks at it. And I get that. It's just quite interesting how, to me, it's just a bigger talking point of when someone's really well liked in media circles, or it's popular to like them. Not such a big deal. When it's popular to dislike them, and it becomes a bigger story. I understand why Rodgers is annoying for some people, and there's a million. It's a topic for another day. But to me, this isn't like this like big lol Jets thing, and it's not some big like Aaron Rodgers is a huge scumbag, and this is why take the Jets under this year. Like, listen, if you want to do that and that's what you're going to base it off of, have fun. If you think the Jets aren't going to be quite as good because, hey, injuries, or maybe this team's not quite as good as we think, or Rodgers might not stay healthy, and all fair criticisms are, hey, Robert Saleh and the staff are not quite as good as we think, and all that stuff. Sure, if you want to go down that, like, that's a very reasonable, fair thing to say. If you think they're going to be bad because Haason Reddick and Aaron Rodgers in June missed 2 minicamp practices, Tua hasn't thrown a football because he's holding out. He's holding in at Dolphins camp with veneers and lost a bunch of weight. And it's like not a talking point. And that's fine. It doesn't need to be a talking point, right? Tua, same system. He wants a new contract. He's not going to risk himself getting hurt. All fair. Couldn't care less. Doesn't make me think that all of a sudden the Dolphins are going to be better or worse because Tua is not throwing a football, on the field in May, because he's clearly doing it off the side, doing it his own thing, and just like this is what happens.
It's part of the process. This is what the negotiation process looks like. It's fine.
The players are quite literally fighting right now and proposing a CBA that they don't have to do any more OTAs and mini camps. So again, to wrap here, would it be nice if Haason Reddick had signed an extension where the Jets were on the same page with him and he was at team workouts and facilities? 100%. Would it be better if Rodgers had been there today and tomorrow? 100%.
Agreed.
Does it really matter that Reddick's excuse is unexcused, but we all understand why, and Rodgers is unexcused, but we don't understand why? Don't really care either way.
No.
Do I think this is a massive distraction? can tell you, I've talked to a bunch of players today. They don't give a shit. They really don't care. It's not a big deal. They've thrown with Rodgers and played with Rodgers all off season. He's been there. There's not these, reps aren't going to make a difference. Not that they won't make a difference, because I don't want to say that, because then it's going to say that I don't care about practice, and I do. But I just look. There's a good chance. Last year we saw the Jets do this, and they ended a mini camp early. To me, it's just the doomsday of the way people spoke about this, and this extreme, like, Rodgers is awful. What a bad guy. The Jets are screwed. Man, listen, if the Jets are that feeble that this is going to ruin their season, that's on them. Like,
yeah,
it's just the reality.
And this isn't going to be what does it. It would have happened anyway.
It would have happened anyway. So, 20 minutes here. We just ran. Yeah, I was saying, get your last thought.
Yeah. So, first of all, I forgot to mention this before. The argument on Twitter about the definition of unexcused versus excused is hysterical. Like, I like opened Twitter and I saw that. I was like, we're on another planet. It's June 11th. We're on another planet already. It's insane. But here's what I do want to say, because you brought up all the LOL Jet stuff, and like, people love to go to that so quickly, dude. It's like anytime anything happens, it's like, fire that up, right? That's the old chestnut there that, like, just trot that one out and you can stomp all over the Jets fans. And so, like, I'm tired of it. And here's what I think about that is that even if this works, right? If this works and we have a really good season, and let's say we win the division, let's say we get a bye, let's say we go to the AFC Championship, maybe even the Super Bowl. Like, let's say, like, this season, like, really hits the expectation marks and we're doing everything we're supposed to do. At no point in this next 2 years, no matter how good we are, we could go 20-0. It doesn't matter. No one is ever going to give the Jets their flowers. Ever. So remember that and be fucking obnoxious when it happens. Because nobody's ever going to back off the LOL Jets thing, no matter what. They could win all 17 regular season games, cruise through the playoffs, and then they have a bad play in the Super Bowl, and here it comes again. So enjoy it, enjoy the ride, have fun, be obnoxious, and if it works, let's all have a party about it.
Well said. Well said. This will be up on the feed shortly. It'll be live on YouTube, as well as the TOJ pod feed. I will be back on Thursday, Friday morning. Janae Coakley will hop on, then we'll have TOJ Talks. Make sure you check out. Paul had the other guys' episode, I believe, come out yesterday. Connor and Joe got War Room, the regular pod of the Badlands feed. I'm sure there'll be a buck to trend this week. And yeah, we'll keep it rolling. Last day of mandatory minicamp. Aaron Rodgers will not be there. In case you guys needed to know, it's unexcused. I still don't give a fuck. And we'll roll from there. Appreciate you for listening, and we'll talk to you guys on Thursday.